Well, welcome to the Okanogan Forest channel here on YouTube, and I'm very pleased that you stopped by. This is the Okanogan Highlands in January. It's been snowing for a couple days, and you can see that it's still slightly snowing here just a little bit. I'm taken back by the peace and tranquility here, and so it's just amazing for me sometimes just to listen to the quiet. I just heard a raven fly over and signal, and other than that, it's been pretty quiet up here. Well, welcome again to the channel, and I'd like you to feel free to look around. If you look at some of the other videos, you'll see that you'll see my cabin here at other times of the year and things like that. You'll also be able to look at deadwood stove videos that I have and just some other things. But this morning I just wanted to say hello from the Okanogan Highlands in January, and I think any of you that have looked at my videos in the past know I'm not a cameraman, so my videos can be pretty rough. But what I'd like to do, as long as the camera holds out and cooperates, is I'd like to walk around just a little bit outside, and then I'm going to take you inside and have you take a look at the way I have my container, my Reefer refrigerated container cabin home set up now. And I got to tell you the truth, you know, over the years, I've had this for a number of years already, but over the years I've adjusted this and adjusted that and so on and so forth, and I'm finally getting to the point where I'm quite comfortable with the way things are inside. And of course everybody's going to do theirs themselves, and if you look at some of the other videos on Okanogan Forest channel, you'll know that I'm a proponent of refrigerated reefer containers for housing, for shelter, for bug out camps, and the reason for that is the insulation. You may be able to see that the smoke is coming out of the chimney, and it's kept me really warm. It was down well below 20 degrees Fahrenheit here, and I slept really well last night. Kept the fire going, and it was 80 degrees right by the stove, and about 65, 70 degrees right by the door. And what I've done is I've got a plastic that it's just a plastic air barrier, and I still have plenty of ventilation. Everybody always asks about ventilation, but I still have plenty of ventilation, and it's worked very well. So let's wander around. You've seen enough of me, so let's wander around a little bit, and please be patient with me while I pick this camera up, because again, I am not the best cameraman by any stretch of the word. So I'm going to bounce you around a little bit, try to close the tripod, and half a second and I'll be ready to go. Sorry. Knock you all around. Again, I'm not a cameraman. We're almost there, and then we'll look around just a little bit more. All right, hopefully that's enough bouncing around for a while, and then I'm gonna try to walk carefully. You can see it's snowing. It's really beautiful. I really can't complain, because it's absolutely beautiful here. And before we go in the cabin, I want to take a look out at the mountains. Now, that's about as pretty as you'd ever want to see. And of course, it's been snowing, so there's snow on all the trees. And I was recording this from over by the outhouse under the cover of the trees there. And again, my Jeep is parked up by the main road. And all right, let's go inside. I'll try to give you a little tour inside. Hopefully the lighting will be okay. I put on a little more lighting than what I'd normally use at this time of day. Got to get the snow off my boots. The first thing I want to do is state that old refrain that you'll hear in some of my other videos. I'm not selling anything, but that's my deadwood stove. And you really ought to look at some of the other videos on the deadwood stove, because in my opinion, the deadwood stove's the best invention since Dutch ovens for being prepared, for being able to cook in the wilderness with no special fuel, and it just really works well. Now, I don't use it inside the cabin, and I don't use it right now because it's snowing out. But if I had to, I could. And there's a forest of twigs out there for me to use for fuel to cook with. The first thing I want to say is that I rearranged things a little bit. And this is the way I've got my kitchen set up. And the main thing that I want to show you is that first blue barrel that's open. And what I do is I keep bottled water in there, and you can kind of look down in there and see that there's bottled water. Now that all that water's been here since last summer, and it was frozen hard when I got here. But because it's in the big barrel, it's fine. And look over here on this side by the doorway, you can see my big jugs for bringing water up, and then there's a black one. That's our shower jug. We fill that up with 5 gallons of water in the summertime. And again, you can see this in other videos, and that's also a pump on the other one. And those aren't being used now because, after all, I'm up here just by myself. And one of the other things that I like to remind people up in this part of the country is to be careful of the other residents. Of course, we've got cougars up here. Some people say more cougars here than anywhere else in the lower 48. And you can kind of see the plastic that I've got just draped over the door. But look up above, you can see how that frame is. There's about 2 inches above that's completely open, so there's plenty of ventilation. Maps of the area. And then you can kind of look up here at my library a little bit and see some of that hasn't changed too much. I do want to point out my bar. I now have, for those of you that are familiar with China, I have Arguito up there, which is Chinese white alcohol, and I've got a little scotch. And then I've got this beautiful new flask of alcohol from my friend Hank in Holland, who gave that to me, and I appreciate that, and it's made it all the way to the Okanogan Highlands, and I want to thank him for it. And you can just further see along this long bookshelf that I put in, all the way to the end of the container. And I have all kinds of things up here. Now, here is the center piece in the inside, and that is, of course, the stove. And you can see, you might be able to hear, the water's boiling in the teapot, or at least making noise. And then, of course, we have all our utensils for cooking and all the things that we need to do around the stove, right there above the stove. And you know, you got wet mittens or something, you just hang them up on a hook there and they're dry in no time, or if you have to dry your socks after you wash them. And then up above we've got extra cups and things for storage, and again, more books. One thing I want to point out is my system for firewood. It's not the most efficient, but it works really well for me. You can see right there on that ledge I've got 2 heavy hammers, and I've got a wedge. And I basically just use that wedge to chop up my firewood, and for short visits it's not a problem. You can see all the wood that I cut, split up this morning so that I'd have plenty of wood to keep warm. Speaking of temperatures, right now, with the door wide open, can't really see it too clearly, but the first thermometer here says about 65 degrees or about 17, 18 Celsius. And if we move back here a little farther, this next thermometer usually is a little bit warmer. Now I've got a couple chairs. Again, this is very eclectic, but you know, it's comfortable. With a little table, and